Beginning, the human who didn't fit the data. The first time he met Commander Valor, Dorian expected death. Valor was enormous, 7 feet tall, armored skin like obsidian, and eyes glowing like molten gold. A war hero, a legend among his people. Every step he took sent vibrations through the stone floors. Human, Valor growled the first day, examining him like a specimen. You were brought here because you survived what should have killed you. You walked through plasma fire without armor. Dorian swallowed. I didn't have a choice. Valor studied him a long moment, expression unreadable. You will demonstrate that again. And so it began day after day, pushed to the brink. Endurance trials. Zero-gravity combat. Psychological simulations meant to induce panic. The Arisian soldiers watched as Dorian defied every one of them, not because he was strong, but because he refused to give up. Valor didn't understand it. Humans, according to their data, were physically inferior, weaker, slower, shorter-lived, prone to emotion. Yet this one kept going. One night, Valor ordered every soldier out of the training hall and confronted Dorian alone. You are not extraordinary, the commander stated. Your biology is average even for your species. Then why do you win? Dorian, breathless and bruised, stared up at the giant. Because where I come from, the moment you give up, someone you love gets hurt. Something flickered in Valor's golden eyes. Something like confusion. Middle, the battle that changed everything. Weeks passed. The tests grew harder, deadlier. And rather than break, Dorian pushed further. Word spread. A human who didn't fear death. A human who defied the impossible. Soon, young Arisian warriors watched him train from the balconies. Some respected him. Others hated him. One of them, a proud soldier named Rytek, despised the idea that a human could earn attention within the citadel. So, during a routine endurance march across the volcanic ridges, Rytek sabotaged the path, triggering an eruption of burning debris. Dorian saved 2 Arisian soldiers, throwing them aside and shielding them with his own body. He collapsed, coughing, skin blistering from the heat. The Eryxians stared. Humans weren't supposed to protect their captors. Valor arrived first, towering over Dorian. You risked death for them, Valor said. It wasn't a question. Dorian whispered through the pain, because it was the right thing to do. The entire platoon heard it. And for the first time, Valor didn't know what to say. The turning point, the warrior falls. The citadel buzzed with whispers. A human who valued life, even enemy life, was something unheard of on Eryx. Some called it weakness. Some called it honor. Most didn't understand it. Then came the attack. A rival Arisian faction stormed the citadel, determined to take control. Explosions shook the spires, alarms blared, and soldiers rushed to defend the throne. In the chaos, Dorian was locked in his training chamber. The temperature dropped. The lights flickered. He heard one final explosion, and the door cracked open. Through it stumbled Commander Valor, bleeding and limping, armor shattered. He collapsed to one knee. Dorian stared, stunned. The strongest warrior in the Empire was dying at his feet. Valor looked up at him and bowed his head. This is surrender, he gasped. Dorian blinked in disbelief.
Why? I don't understand.
Valor forced the words out. You protect even those who hurt you. You value lives you gain nothing from saving. That is strength we cannot calculate. You fight not to conquer, not to survive, but because someone somewhere loves you. Because you love. We do not understand that power. With the last of his strength, Valor drew a dagger and placed it in Dorian's hands. My life, he said, voice fading, belongs to you. Dorian's heart pounded. He didn't know what he had done to earn such devotion. He didn't know how he'd changed a warrior of the most feared army in the galaxy. But he knew one thing. He wasn't letting Valor die. Ending the moment that shocked a planet. While the battle raged in the Citadel, Dorian dragged Valor through collapsing corridors to a medical chamber. He used instincts, desperation, and raw determination to stabilize him, even though he barely understood alien medical tech. Hours passed. The explosion stopped. Finally, the door burst open. Dozens of elite Arisian soldiers rushed in, weapons drawn, and then froze. Their commander, the undefeated Valor, the warrior who never bent to anyone, was kneeling before a human. Words spread like wildfire. The crowds filled the chambers. Priests arrived. The High Council entered in silence. If Valor knelt, tradition dictated only one truth. The one before him was worthy. A council member demanded, "Human, what did you do to make him kneel?" Dorian shook his head, exhausted. "Nothing. I just didn't let him die." The chamber buzzed with disbelief. Valor, now stabilized, stood with effort and raised his voice so the entire hall could hear. Humans fight not because they are strong, but because they love. Their power is not physical, it is emotional. It is something we have lost and something we now need. Silence followed. Then a single warrior knelt. Then another. Then dozens. Then hundreds. Dorian stood frozen, overwhelmed, tears burning his eyes. He wasn't a king. He wasn't a god. He wasn't a weapon. He was just a man who refused to stop caring, even when surrounded by enemies. And that was the one thing Eric's had forgotten. From that day forward, the humans in captivity were no longer prisoners. They were allies, students, friends. And Dorian Hale, the human who didn't even know what he did, became the figure who reintroduced compassion to a warrior civilization. Not through conquest, not through dominance, but through the simplest act of all, choosing to save someone who never expected to be saved.